Hello and welcome to session 5 of the Conversational Hypnosis Academy's Hypnosis Questions Answered. Again, my name is Scott Jansen. Thank you for joining us. Let's jump straight in from where we were last time to approach another 6 questions that should hopefully grow your understanding of conversational hypnosis, but also hypnotherapy in general. First question we have is, can you explain priming for stop smoking clients? Absolutely. Now, when it comes to priming, regardless of whether it's stop smoking clients, it's weight loss, it is anxiety, it's fears, anything that you would normally see a client for, priming is a great way to start the session. So essentially what priming is, it's a way to use the overload principle, repetition, and a way to structure your session and prime the unconscious mind for the way you hope the session will go. So what do I mean by this? Let's imagine someone goes to the gym. They go to do a workout, and let's say they're working their upper body. Now, does this person go into the gym and jump straight on the machines or jump straight on the free weights? We could assume not. What this person will first do is warm up their body. They might stretch, they might jump on a bike, get their heart rate up and get everything loose and limber for the workout they're about to have. So we do the same thing with the unconscious mind, is we let the unconscious mind know through repetition and through the overload principle the way we would like the session to go. And the easiest way to do this for yourself, to think of, well, how can I do this for clients, is think of, what do you think your clients would like to hear? Do you think they want a session that could be fun, is about learning, is about understanding their unconscious, is about great results, is it about breaking through their issues, is it about learning more about themselves than they have ever before? These are things, positives, that we let our clients know ahead of time about what the session is about. In more classical terms, this is known as a pre-talk, but we take it one step further with a priming sequence. Instead of telling a client what about hypnosis is, what it isn't, and these general sorts of questions we would approach with, is we just spend our time, maybe just a couple of minutes at the start of a session, overloading our clients with positivity. So when they do go into trance, we can assume that the trance they're going to have should be filled with these positive ideas for the fun, the excitement, and all these sorts of things. And it's a way to let the unconscious mind know that we're ready to go, that we're ready to begin the session, and to start to develop a trance that consists of these features. Now, like I said, this can be used for stop smoking, it can be used for weight loss, it can be used for any anxieties. And the great thing about it is if you find out a little bit about your client, you can include things they like. You can include things about them that are positive inside this priming sequence. And that way they can relate. And that way the unconscious mind knows to get things prepared and ready for the trance ahead. The next question we have is, can you explain your theory on what happens in trance? Now, everybody has their own theory. Everyone has their own idea of what happens inside trance. So whether this is right or wrong, this is more of an analogy that I think of when I was seeing clients, and something we allow our students to think about, is that at the moment when we set a context for hypnosis, now we mean context, we've explained this before, but the 101 version of context is creating an environment or a situation where we can expect trance to take place, where we can expect hypnosis is going to be a big part of the interaction. So once we've set that context, what starts to happen is the unconscious mind starts to gather resources. It's almost, the context is giving the unconscious mind permission to start to prepare everything. And what we do with hypnotic techniques is we either confuse the conscious mind, we keep the conscious mind active doing something else, which allows the unconscious mind freedom. It allows it to do what it does best, which is keep us healthy, which is to help us break through our own issues, and it keeps us understandably learning about ourselves. And that's what the unconscious mind does as a whole. It's the main role of the unconscious. But what tends to happen is it's our conscious mind that interferes or interrupts the unconscious mind from doing this naturally. So as a hypnotist, we can expect our client's going to be very conscious and unconscious. We expect both minds to be in the same session with us, and that's from a theoretical standpoint. So what we do with our techniques is we tie up the conscious mind for as long as we need to a point where either there doesn't exist too much and we have what is more formally known as a hypnotic trance, which is more unconscious processes. And during this time, the unconscious mind has time to itself and has its own privacy. It starts to gather resources, it starts to gather ideas, it starts to gather scenarios that'll help our client. And because we've set a context for either smoking or weight loss or anxieties or anything like this, we can expect the unconscious mind starts to find resources according to the session that's taking place. So that's just our theory. That's something that we have our students understand. It's something that I would take in as an analogy. It was taught to me. And it's something that if you are lucky enough to look at the old style of the Erickson movement, this is something they rely on heavily. Milton Erickson would know in the back of his mind that all he would have to do is keep the conscious mind busy enough and allow the unconscious mind to do what it does best, which is help, which is repair, and which helps heal our clients. And it does this automatically. The next question we have is, I've tried everything to put my clients into trance, but nothing works. Any advice? Now, this is quite an abstract idea. When the simplest suggestion I can give in this point is, if you're trying everything, it may be that you're being a little bit too obvious with your approach. Now, the obvious way, or the more classical way of hypnosis, tends to stand out a little bit more. Now, what do I mean by this? If you look at the classical script, or you look at the classical language patterns, or you look at any of the classical techniques, which may be telling your client that their eyes are getting heavy, or very overt suggestions, this becomes very obvious for your clients, and this is a moment where they start to push back. So that's one theory. The other theory could be that your client has their own ideas or insecurities about hypnosis that need to be cleared first. Now, they might not tell you this. They might not tell you that they may be afraid of hypnosis. They may not tell you that they've had a bad experience before. This is something we as hypnotists need to find out, which is why when we see a client, we explore the mindset. We ask them questions about them and the session and the interaction, rather than just going straight into being hypnotic. If you jump straight into the deep end, so to speak, and you put your hypnotic personality on as soon as your client arrives, it can be a little bit too much. It can push your clients into it too quickly, and this is where the word resistant comes up. This is where the client pushes back, and it seems that everything we're doing just doesn't work. Now, this could be any of those things. It could be others as well. But in essence, it's because your client is in the wrong mind frame, the wrong mindset for hypnosis to take place. So my advice here is to just explore what's occurring, explore maybe a client's thoughts on hypnosis, maybe explore what's happening with your client and why they're not going into trance. There's no wrong question to ask. You could be asking, why isn't this working for you? What are your thoughts on hypnosis? Are you scared about this? Are you nervous? Anything like this, to find out more details. And once you find out those details, then you can use them to get rid of the mindset, to clear the understanding, and then you should find that hypnosis should take place rather quickly. A more covert approach is using less obvious techniques, and it's a fantastic way to almost have trance creep up on people. Instead of going through the front door, we may go round the back and sneak into the unconscious mind without alerting the conscious mind at all that something's occurring. The next question we have is, can hypnosis be used for sales and in emails? As far as sales, absolutely. Now, I want to touch on something here. This is not something that we do unethically, meaning that we can't use hypnosis to sell to someone who doesn't want to buy our product. If you generally do not have something worth selling, there is nothing, no hypnotic technique, no language pattern, doesn't matter what you research that tells you otherwise. It is impossible to sell to someone who doesn't want your product if your product is inferior or doesn't hold any value. Now, you may find someone will buy it, but it's more than likely the next day they're going to call you up and want a refund because it's not what they want. In as far as emails, it can get a little bit tricky. I'm sure there are ways to do it. Understandably, I'm not too sure. I've never tried to use it. I don't know the understandings. I have seen successful emails and successful people talk about using hypnosis in emails, but it's up to the individual themselves. The way we view a hypnosis, instead of forcing people as far as sales, instead of forcing people to buy our products with fancy hypnotic techniques, what we do as hypnotists, or what we can do, is find out why would someone want it? How do we link emotions, motivation, and leverage to the product we have and include it in a variety of choices for them? And we want them to pick the product for themselves. We want them to make the decision that they need us, rather than being desperate and us saying, I need you. The next question we have is, I've been taught that with weight loss clients to anchor the color red to progressive weight loss reduction. Can I use other colors? Now, this question was a little bit confusing, but I sort of understand where this question is coming from. The classical way for any weight loss session is to use something called post-hypnotic suggestions. Now, post-hypnotic suggestions are essentially telling a client that once the session is done, once you've done all the therapy and the induction and whatnot, that any time they see the color red, it'll motivate them to go to the gym, it'll motivate them to lose weight, it'll motivate them to stop eating junk food. And this is a very classical way to look at hypnosis. And unfortunately, it violates a couple of the golden rules of an ethical hypnotist. Now, when it comes to hypnosis, one of our roles that I guess is rampant in the industry, gets violated over and over again, is dictating the outcome for our client, which is essentially saying either hypnotists think that the session should end like this and your success will be because of this, meaning that every time your client sees the color red, they will lose weight. And it can work for some people, but my theory is, and the way we approach it is, why just choose the color red? What if your client never sees the color red? Or what if your client hates the color red? Why not include all colors? And that's only if you're looking at that classical approach. The more common approach that we would use and teach our students to use is to not dictate, is just allow the unconscious mind to come up with its own way to lose weight. So instead of telling the unconscious mind that it must choose the color red, let it think of its own resources. Let it be more creative so the color red becomes irrelevant and anything can help your client. Instead of just having one thing, i.e. the color red, to help your client lose weight, what if the unconscious mind finds many, many, many dozens and dozens and dozens of resources that help your client? We don't want to limit our client to the one thing, but we also don't want to tell our clients what to do. We don't want to be telling the unconscious mind, hey, you must use this anchor, you must use this color red because that's what I'm reading to you in my script, or that's the classical way that I look at hypnosis. There's many ways to look at hypnosis. The way we want to view it is give the unconscious mind resources, give it time to do what it does best, heal, but also provide success to our clients without telling it how to do it or what to do it. The last question is, what is the best post-hypnotic suggestion to use if I want my client to go back into trance easily and other times? And again, this comes back to the question we just had before about using the color red. A post-hypnotic suggestion is something we are taught to use as hypnotists in most cases to add a suggestion that anytime a client comes back to see us, that they'll go into trance easily. Now, what's the suggestion for this? The most classical is every time you come into my office, you'll go into trance really easy and deeper than before, or something along those lines. Now, this becomes very obvious, and also it's telling the unconscious mind again what to do. It's telling it that, hey, every time you come into my office, you have to put this person into trance, or this will take place. If the unconscious mind rejects this idea, you can expect the post-hypnotic suggestion to not work. What's an easier and more covert way as a post-hypnotic suggestion is your voice. Your voice will associate to trance, and you may have experienced this yourself if you've worked with a couple of clients or you've worked with other people and you may see them in a more outdoor setting or outside of your office. The fact that you're talking to them is enough to put them back into trance, because we have our normal voice and we also have our hypnotic voice. And a hypnotic voice will associate to trance because you may spend a whole hour of the session speaking in more of a slower tone, speaking in more of a hypnotic tone, and this alone will do all the post-hypnotic suggestion you need. So if you are seeing a client again and they come into your office, you should expect as soon as you drop your voice into the more hypnotic tone, that they'll go back into trance. It may not be as deep, but you'll start to see the same trance starting to develop. So whether or not you use the obvious post-hypnotic suggestions of every time you come into my office, you'll go deeply into trance, or you just know that your voice will do it for you, it's totally up to you. So there we have it. They're the 6 questions. I hope I answered them completely and it gives you some more assistance into mastering hypnosis. Until next time, we'll see you for session 6 about this time next week to answer another half a dozen questions or so. If you do have any questions for us that you would formally like us to answer, please let us know at info@conversationalhypnosisacademy.com. Again, my name is Scott Jansen. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, have a fun hypnotic experience. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.